Welcome to the Feminine Principle podcast, a journey into the heart of the female psyche. I'm your host, Nicola Lucy, shamanic practitioner who specializes in shadow work for women and founder of the Feminine Principle. Hello, ladies, and welcome to this episode of the Feminine Principle podcast, where today we are embodying the power of your fire. And so, having just passed through the portal of the new moon eclipse in Aries, emotions can be running high as we begin our journey for the next 18 months on this pathway through change and rehabilitation. Considered the first sign of the zodiac by many, Aries is pure fire energy and represents the masculine, the creative spark, the doing and the being out in the world. It is about the self, the ego, and our needs. Yet the core nature of fire is about transformation, transforming what needs to change and having the will, energy, and commitment to do so. It is one of the most vital power sources that we need to be in and of this world, to initiate, activate, and create. It's related to the solar plexus, the stomach, and digestion, and her power can be felt in our menstrual cycle and our sexual energy. However, fire also has a shadow side, and when left unchecked, it destroys and burns down the house in reaction and fear. It becomes unruly and chaotic, throwing words poisoned with anger and hate, rage and envy, jealousy and bitterness in the face of those around us. It sabotages and it manipulates and fights to be heard, to be seen, and to be loved. It is violent and volatile, unpredictable and dangerous. And in the face of this fire, we have no control. And yet, we are seeking to control through our unconscious behavior and reactions. We lose all sense of reasoning and our sanity because in the moment when our fire erupts, it has a mind of its own, and we cannot stop ourselves. So just as the serpent eats its tail, we go around in a vicious and destructive cycle, burning anything that stands in our way. We have all experienced this shadow side of fire, and as women, we don't really care to admit it, nor accept this dark, violent aspect of our nature as it goes completely against the societal expectations projected upon us. So we wear masks to cover it. We adopt patterns of behavior to suppress it, and we retreat to our conditioning to ignore it at all costs. But that which is not tamed is like a predator in the psyche, waiting for the trigger to be pulled, and when it does so, all hell breaks loose, and like a bull in a china shop, leaves a broken mess of frayed nerves, remorse, and regret. In my personal and professional experience working with women, fire is the most feared of the elements. Because to face the fire within, we will have to face the level of destruction we have unconsciously created along the way. We will have to take responsibility for weaponizing our anger and the wounds we have inflicted when they have hit the mark. We will have to accept, digest, and take ownership of what we have sown and the patterns we have perpetuated and passed on as a result. But most of all, we will have to feel those very discomforting emotions which threaten our sense of safety, security, and stability, and the right light we wish to be seen in. We fear feeling them because we have been conditioned they are wrong, unholy, unacceptable, and unlovable. And unconsciously we believe that if we feel them, we are them, creating an illusion of truth we would rather not accept, so we try to carry on as normal. It's one of my greatest gifts as a practitioner to hold space for clients to navigate this fire. And cultivating a deep level of trust is necessary because without trust and guidance, chaos will surely follow. But it does take time, as the stores of anger they have built up across lifetimes and generations is locked deeply in the body and presents as armor, which can only be chipped away at piece by piece, as and when the client is ready and never before. Fire is also the most misunderstood aspect of our feminine nature, and probably the hidden reason we, as women, individually and collectively suffer from so many menstrual and reproductive disorders, gut and digestion issues, and challenges with our sexual nature, as we are quite simply repressing our own innate power source through fear and lack of understanding and awareness. My own earliest experience of my fire was triggered the day I started my period, and a year later it intensified when I lost my virginity and my sexual energy erupted onto the scene. Integrating that time of my life through shadow work, I had to face the shame I felt at my unconscious behavior, the temper tantrums that I pulled, the malicious and vicious things I said to my mom to hurt her, and the sexual exploits I entangled myself in to navigate the burning desire and passion I felt coursing through my body. Anger has been at the root of so many decisions I have made, lashing out and taking flight, and it was dominant when I suffered through PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And the amount of unexpressed anger I have absorbed from family members has been a challenge to unravel from my cellular memory. Even now, those old feelings of anger can arise, and I can feel them in the chalice of my womb, wanting to hurt and do damage to myself and to others in response. So I welcome them, I listen to them, and I love them, for they have come to teach me something I now need to learn. Anger and fire have become my greatest teachers. They have and continue to teach me about the very nature of power and control. Because if we are able to raise such unconscious and destructive power from the depths of our psyche to meet the unmet needs of our ego, can you imagine what can be created, changed, and transformed if we bring it back into balance and our conscious awareness and use it as a force for good? And this is where the healing journey begins. We cannot change the past, but we can learn from it. We can face it and integrate its wisdom, and we will need our fire to do so. Because fire is needed to take action and to initiate the next steps to harness our will to change. We need our fire to transform what has become toxic and out of balance on the inside, so we can bring harmony and love back into our lives and relationships on the outside. We will need to recognize that buried beneath the destructive fire is a little girl who needs to be seen and heard, accepted, loved, and understood. And it is this insecure part of us that has developed patterns of behavior to try to control what is out of control. We will need to understand how to embrace, embody, and express these powerful emotions that course through our very being in a way that feels right for us. And we will need to learn how to transform our anger into assertion, our jealousy into desire, and our hatred into love, taking conscious action rather than unconscious reaction, so we can weave our fire into passion and pleasure from a healthy and balanced place, which supports and nurtures rather than manipulates and destroys. We will need to learn how to build bridges rather than burn them down, harnessing the power of our own innate power to manifest the change we wish to see in the world. And we cannot do this by ignoring this life force, the fire that burns within. But when we give ourselves permission to lean into our fire and experience her power, we will never be burned again, nor will we burn others as a result, and our lives and relationships will change like never before. And so let me ask you, what is your relationship with your fire? How do anger and jealousy show up in your life? And how do you avoid, ignore, or suppress your anger? Until next time, with love. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Feminine Principle podcast, I invite you to join 600 plus women for the Notes from Your Shadow newsletter. Every Saturday, you'll receive wisdom and inspiration to help you fall in love with your shadow and have a deeper, more loving relationship with yourself, others, and Mother Earth.